Welcome to a new update, and today we're going to cover the Bitcoin price action as we have been seeing a breakout out of a range for 1 week. We are also going to cover how I'm trading Bitcoin at this point, as yesterday during the live stream we have been going in depth into the price action of Bitcoin. And if you didn't know yet, on Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Central European Time, I'm live answering all your questions, discussing all the topics that you need to know, price action, macroeconomics, and way more. So definitely tune in. We're also going to do giveaways in the live streams very soon. Also, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit that like button if you do enjoy the content, and also check out our premium membership and trade letter, which you can test for free for 1 week, where you can see my personal trades, way more trade IDs, and in the trade letter you can see altcoin setups and market analysis and way more. So that is something that you should be discovering. Now let's get towards the markets, in which we are seeing a breakout of Bitcoin above 19.5k. Finally, it happened during the night, which means that most likely we can have some more momentum going upwards at this point, especially since the currencies in the DXY look like we are having a peak run there, or a peak parabolic run, which means that all the currencies are having a capitulation wick, and we've also been seeing that on the commodity markets. But in this update we're going to focus on the TA of Bitcoin and some levels that I'll be looking at if I want to be trading it. So let's time to move towards the charts. So when we're looking at the price action of Bitcoin, we can definitely tell that we are into a downtrend since November 2021. There's no real magic into that. We've also been seeing a very nasty correction from 23k after we have been showing a bit of strength as we were breaking trends. So where are we currently? Well, we are technically speaking into an accumulation period, but due to the fact that we have been breaking above 19.5k, in which we're going to discuss TA in a little bit, we can also say that we are back up above the 200-week MA on the total market cap, which is the most important one, and I definitely want to see continuation happening here. But based on history, and we also have on-chain analysis and on-chain data, and if we look at on-chain, we can see that Bitcoin is heavily undervalued at this point, and when we're looking at the total market cap, we can also conclude that based on the fact that when it's around the 200-week MA, you definitely want to start paying attention of investing into the crypto markets. And once again, we are into that territory, which means that I'm getting interested into investing into Bitcoin, crypto, the entire market. I think that the valuation is relatively low at this point. So now, due to the fact that we have been reclaiming the 200-week MA, we saw a very swift move of Bitcoin going up. So in that case, we should be investigating, okay, so which levels are we looking at to actually get into a play now? Because most of you probably are not into a trade at this point, as we're anticipating for a downwards move, and that's why we also saw that the Bitcoin move was quite swift. So first, a little bit of background, what we have been seeing. Not too much of macroeconomics, but we have been seeing this giant run on the DXY, which is the inverse of Bitcoin taking place. And the most likely scenario I posted earlier this morning is that I'm assuming that we are going to get into a downwards move of the DXY relatively soon, as we are getting into resistance territory. Maybe we get to 117. However, overall consensus is that we're going to get towards 120. I doubt we actually will, but I think that we are going to get into a territory like we have been seeing in 2015, 2016, with a very harsh sell-off taking place, maybe this week, or otherwise it's going to be next week. And tomorrow we'll be covering the actual important events that we are looking at. And today we also saw Powell and Lagarde speaking as well. Now, DXY is most likely going to turn around. First level that we should be looking at is the level that we have at 108 to 110. Those are the regions that I'm definitely going to look at potential bounce on the DXY and longs on the DXY. But if we start to fall, we can conclude that the yields are also on the top. The 10 years is actually reversing here, as the daily candle is showing some period of weakness for at least today. When we're looking at the 2 years, We have definitely concluded past week that we could be running towards 435 to 440, but that should be the top for now, and that's what we can look at when we look at the 1 year or 1 week time frame and the daily time frame. So definitely assuming that both on the yields and on the dollar we are going to have an impact on the markets and probably have some correction taking place, which will mean that Bitcoin and risk-on assets are going to have some time or some relief. So if a dollar is going to correct, which I think it will, we will also going to be seeing other currencies showing strength. And we can see that on the British pound and or United Kingdom government bonds and other currencies, we have been seeing this accelerated vertical run, which usually ends off by a very harsh correction taking place because governments are stepping in. Now, when we're looking at the price action of Bitcoin, first of all, the weekly time frame. The beauty here is that based on the weekly time frame, we have been taking the low, right? So we have been taking the low beneath 19.2, have been reclaiming it. So technically speaking, the acceleration has been due to the fact that we have been reclaiming 19.3 to 19.5. We'll get to that in a little bit. But this is showing strength in such a way that we are looking at a reclaim of that level and therefore can start targeting those highs that we have here. So there is an optional choice or an optional case that we're actually going to get Bitcoin running to our 30k in the coming period because of the weakness on the dollar, because of the weakness on the yields, right? So in this case, reclaiming 19.2 is actually optimal when it comes to the weekly time frame, and therefore it suggests that we're going to have continuation. Now, when we're looking at the time frames for Bitcoin, we first have to look at the 4-hour time frame. We have been looking into this downwards move due to CPI coming in, but this big gap is going to be a result of strength in the coming period. So if we find a support and buyers are stepping in, continuation is going to lead towards a run very fastly towards 22.9. So in that case, if we are going to have a period of having a slight consolidation before we continue, most likely we will see a run taking place towards 22.5. Okay, so where are we in this entire run or in this entire breakout? Most likely somewhere here. So this means that if you want to look at crucial areas that we should be holding, a very aggressive lower time frame bounce area, which we have been seeing already, is 20k. We could be seeing support there, but maybe we're going to find ourselves into a little lower territory, and then you want to find support into the region between 19.5 to 19.7 if we get a correction. Okay, so now if we're looking at the price action, we got this range. So we've had this high here which rejected at 19.6, range high which we couldn't be breaking through at this point. Okay, so we've got rejection taking place at 19.5. We even got a block here, which means that there was a lower high created, resulting into an even more narrow range, and that's where we rejected from yesterday. We tested it first, then we retested the range low of that narrow range, and I said that if we are going to test the range high again, most likely we're going to have a very swift breakout towards 19.5, but more or less towards 20k, which we have been seeing. On the downside, we also have the range low, which we have been holding here at 18.5, retest at 18.6. I said that it's a crucial level to hold, which we technically did. So now, how am I approaching this trade or this price action at this point? I think that you should already be into position. I think you had a ton of opportunities to either 18.4, 18.6, or even the retest at 18.8 has been a case where you could be looking at longs, and even this flip at 19.2 on the lower time frames is something that you should be looking at. Now, when we're looking at the current structure, knowing or at least assuming that the markets are going to continue this trend, there are a few regions that you should be looking at for potential trades, and then I'll just be using it in this chart. First of all, if we are going to get into a long, this territory at 22.9 is definitely a territory where you want to be looking for take profits, because I'm not assuming that if we get into the region that we just continue running, especially since we have been correcting quite harshly, and especially since the sentiment is bearish and everyone is very short time frame or focus on the shorter time frames, it means that if you want to trade, this is your area where you want to take profits on the longs and where you want to start looking for scalp shorts. All right. If we want to look for longs, we already had a bounce at 20k, so I think that it's not optimal to look for that long anymore. If we look at the theory here, there is another scenario that I'm preferably looking at. First of all, if we continue the grind, it's very reasonable to take out these highs here and reject at 20.7. So that is a scenario for longs that I'll be looking for take profits. Scalp shorts can be done if we have a lower high and have the actual test in which we can go for lower time frames. So scenario 1 is that we continue towards 20.7. Then I'm looking for TP there and probably going for a correction towards 20k and looking for longs over there. But preferably I actually want to see scenario 2 happen, in which we sweep the high, come back down again and retest the previous resistance at 19.5. So then you want to be looking at this region for longs, in which you're going for a scenario like we are seeing here. You're looking for this scenario to play. That is the most optimal trade that you're looking at, and that is my primarily scenario. The second scenario is that you're looking for shorts into this region, in which you're taking it above the high, or we have to squeeze that high first, who knows, and then you're looking for a correction towards 20.7 and 20k before the market continues the upwards run. That's the actual short scenario. If you have the aggressive or lower time frames one, 20.7, 20k, those are the ranges for scalps, and that is actually how I should be looking at it right now. If you don't have a position, stay calm. You don't need to rush into the markets. It's all about building your portfolio, building trades that are actually optimal and plus EV. If you do enjoy this content on TA, make sure to comment beneath if you want to see more of this analysis in the markets. Tomorrow we're going to dive into macroeconomics a little bit more. Hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Ciao.